Ever wonder what it takes to advance from admin to architect? Learn some key tips from Johan Furmann on how to become an architect. Welcome to 100 Days of Trailhead, where the tech community comes to learn Salesforce, learn tech, get inspired, and invest in ourselves. We are your trail guides, here to support you on your learning journey. We release videos weekly. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a video. In the description below, you can find links for everything we mention in this video, as well as books and resources we found useful. Visit our blog, 100daysoftrailhead.com, for other helpful Salesforce and tech content. Many people want to become architects but are unclear how to achieve this goal. Johan Furmann will explain his journey and provide tips to attain the knowledge to become an architect. Johan is a dev by curiosity, architect by trade, but admin by heart.
Hello, 100 Days of Trailhead. Thank you very much for having me today. It's such an honor to be talking to one of the most ambitious groups of trailblazers out there. 100 Days of Trailhead is such an inspiration for me every day again. Seeing all these tweets about all your success inspires me to go further, to learn more, to study harder. And this is actually a good start into my story, my CTA story from admin to architect. I can wrap it up in one sentence: one trail at a time. There's a little bit more to it, but at the end of the day, it's one trail at a time. At the end, you have to know anything anyway. Doesn't matter what you do, just keep on studying. But back to the main story. The CTA is really hard. There's no doubt around it. It's, for many people, it's a really far away goal. For me, it was, until the day I got the email, it was a goal which was never achievable. The journey holds many pitfalls, steep climbs, and other obstacles. This might be one of the reasons why many start, few try, and only fewer finish. Today, I want to share my story, how I got from an admin to an architect to a CTA. Over the next 25 to 30 minutes I will tell you about my defeats, about how I overcome them, about my shortcomings, but also about my successes. And I think I don't have to tell any of you, after all, it's about community. It's about studying every day and helping each other. But before we go in there, let me share about my favorite NGO, Refugee Force. Refugee Force is a great NGO from the Netherlands. They train refugees on Salesforce. And as you all know, the hardest thing is to get your first Salesforce job. After that, it's easy sailing, but the first one is hard. So if you have somehow the possibility to hire an intern, an admin, a consultant, a developer, please reach out to Refugee Force and make sure you get your highly qualified, highly motivated Salesforce superstar today. And with that, a little bit to myself. Officially, I'm a Salesforce architect, but in reality, I'm a Salesforce admin. I will always be an admin. There is nothing more satisfying to me than cleaning up a page layout, adding and creating a process further, or designing another report for my customers. Recently, I started to develop apps on the App Exchange under the brand of Admin's Little Helper. And these apps are from admins, for admins. They solve the everyday problems to make you, the admin, the hero of your company. You can find me on my blog, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I'm always happy for a chat, so please reach out to me. And many years ago, this page would have looked way different. It was about 6 to 7 years ago. I was part of my first user group meeting here in Berlin. I still remember it vividly. We had cold pizza. I kind of like cold pizza. And somebody talked about Marketing Cloud. I had no idea. I just got started with Salesforce, a couple of weeks in experience, and suddenly somebody talks about Marketing Cloud. This made no sense to me. Nevertheless, I was hooked. I was hooked on this energy of constantly learning, improving, bettering yourself. This was such an inclusive, welcoming group of nerds from all different walks of life, from all different genders, from all different sexual orientations. It was so different than anything I had experienced until that. There was no going back. Not too long into my career, and my career started as a part-time Salesforce admin for a small startup, I learned about this mysterious thing of the CTA, of Salesforce architects. I had no idea what it means. But a friend of mine became an architect. And I thought, if this person can become an architect, I can too. Let's just try it. Little did I know what it actually would take to get there and how long it would take. Some of you might know this overconfidence of freshly minted admins. I know the platform, I know how to create a field. It was a long journey. There was dark forests, there was a lot of unknowns, there was a lot of unknown unknowns, there was dragons all the way waiting for me. At the end, there was a huge castle I had to conquer, which I couldn't conquer myself. I had to lay siege together with a couple of really good friends. But at the end, we did it together as a group, and there was the prince, and I could rescue the prince and get the reward. And let me take you now today on this long journey. This is my journey. This is my story. Everyone is different. Everybody's journey is different. Please, and the journey constantly changes, evolves, improves. Please always check the latest Salesforce information. Please talk to other people. Don't take my word alone. Make sure you get as different opinions as possible. Again, it's my personal story. Yours might be completely different. Most of you might know, not everybody does, what is the Salesforce Certified Technical Architect? First, a couple of hard facts. It was established around 10 years ago because Salesforce wanted to make sure that Salesforce projects are a success, especially large-scale enterprise projects. And this is where the Salesforce CTA stayed for the most time. It was for the most ambitious, most experienced architects out there to prove that they can master large-scale Salesforce implementation. So far, around 300 to 400 people passed. So more people have been to space than actually passed the Certified Technical Architect. It is still on the peak of the Salesforce certification pyramid. And it comes with a lot of prestige, but also high expectations. So I feel like an imposter. I don't feel like I actually earned the CTA. There are other CTAs out there, or people who don't have the CTA, who are just architects, who are so much smarter, so much better than me. I still am just an admin from Berlin. And it's way, way harder than anything I did in my life. The exam itself is a board exam, so it's not a multiple choice, it's a board exam with 3 specially trained CTAs who judge you. You have 3 hours of preparation, you get a scenario. You have to take the scenario, present it for 45 minutes, and afterwards you have 30-minute to 60-minute Q&A with your judges. They will grill you. What do you need to know for the CTA? Everything and much, much more. This altogether is about 6 hours. It's really, really exhausting. You have to be on the top of your game and know everything in a short and precise manner and so forth. This image actually captures how I felt after I finished the CTA. I can be honest there. I had a burnout for like 3 months after I went for my review board. I couldn't look at Trailhead anymore. I couldn't open Salesforce anymore. It was such an exhausting task. And so why should you go for it? Again, many people, many different reasons. I'm a nerd. I think most of you are as well. This is why you're part of 100 Days of Trailhead. I like learning. I like studying. And this was a perfect excuse to be studying all day long, every weekend, and nerding out with friends and having just fun with Salesforce. This is a great way to see it, look at it. It's a really nice puzzle you can solve. It's very prestigious. It helps your career. It gives you instant respect, which I think is a little bit overblown actually, because CTAs are just humans as you and I still have to learn a lot, and everybody has to learn. And it forms you as, I didn't know that ahead of time, but this is something you can mind. It forms you as a person. It forms you as an individual. It changed me in so many different ways. I found so many friends. It helped me a little bit with my imposter syndrome, not too much. It's still there. I think it will always be there a little bit, but it changed my approach actually to life, because it's something I set my goal and I achieved. So this is something a little bit like a marathon. Not that I ever achieved a marathon, but this is what people tell me. So despite the fact that it's really hard and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, it takes a lot of money. It costs something between $8,000 and $20,000, depending on your circumstances, altogether with classes. I spent about $20,000, not counted the 1,500 hours I had to study just for the CTA, not for the certificates, just the CTA. So for me, it was like I think $60,000 to $70,000. I did the math on it at some point. It was really expensive, but it's worth it. Again, I wouldn't do it any different the second time around. So I already told you a little bit. I started 2015 as a Salesforce admin, sales, service certifications I already had. I was part of a small Salesforce team, part-time, small end customer, 200 users. No way this sets me up for my success, people would think. I thought differently, and I think you all think the same way. There's Trailhead out there, there's certifications, there's community groups, there's so many ways of achieving our goals. You don't have to be technical architect of Accenture anymore. This is one of the main stories I want to share today, learnings. You don't listen to others, just keep on studying. But it's not enough to just study Trailhead alone. The CTA is so much more, and I think all of our projects are so much more. It's about communication, it's about governance, ROI, problem solving, migration, roles hierarchy, strategy, English. I mean, you have to be fluent in English. Microservices, governance models, larger IT landscape, how to communicate on C-level, or to take it from there. This is the exam guide. You have to do executive level strategic. You have to be unrivaled domain expertise. You have to a functional platform and integration architecture. You have to be good with technical solutions, design trade-offs. You have to effectively communicate with business stakeholders, and you have to provide a delivery framework. Oh, yeah, and you have to be really good in highlighting. This is something I got really, really good to get a lot of information in my head quickly, structure them, rephrase them, and bring it back to my consumer. It's easy to say today, but 2015, I was not in any way close to being ready. You see here, it's mostly red. I didn't do this assessment back then. Actually, I think back then I overestimated my abilities way, but today, looking back, there was nothing, there was so much I had to learn. I knew that I have a lot of gaps, so I started filling these gaps. And the first one is, I work part-time. This is kind of the opposite what everybody thinks. Everybody thinks you have to work really, really hard. My approach is I work as little as possible. So for me, I work usually 3 days a week, 24 hours. And Mondays, Tuesdays is the days I don't work, I study. So I study at least 8 hours, more 16 hours every week for the last 6 years. And this is one of the main keys of my personal success. Everybody's different. And I'm in a lucky position that I have, I can afford it. Study more. Studying pays off in the long term. Hard work might also pay off for some people. For me, studying pays off way better. And it's more fun, let's be honest. And this is the next thing. I am an admin, I told you. And people always ask me, do I need to know coding in order to become an architect? Or I would say even as a senior consultant. Short answer, you don't need to be an expert, but you need to understand code. And because it helps you with so many little things, it helps you to understand complex flows of data. We are in the IT space, how software works. It helps you to build stuff yourself. I like building prototypes myself, even if I don't then implement them, but I like playing around if something actually works, because this also helps me to design solutions, to hand it over to the developers. Also, it gives me credibility with developers. Not too much, because they know I'm not the best coder in the world, but it helps me. And it makes me self-sufficient. It makes, I can do stuff myself. I'm so happy that I learned coding. And I can tell you, all of you, you can learn coding. Every admin can learn it. It's not magic. Of course, being a really good developer is something different, but some basic coding, absolutely doable. And it allowed me now to actually develop my own App Exchange apps and become an indie app developer. I'm self-sufficient in that regard. So do I need to know coding? No. Is it helpful? Yes. And how do I actually go for coding? So everything I need to study, I developed kind of approach process. I do it always the same. I'm very structured in that sense. I like to have my processes. So first of all, I always set my goal to something high. I don't stop in the middle. So for development, I went straight for the platform developer 2. This was my goal. This is, if I learn something, I do it seriously. So first I started actually with Trailhead and Code Academy, as we all do. And then I got my certifications, Platform Developer 1 and 2, and this took me about 4 months, 5 months altogether. Every Monday and Tuesday programming. Then I did some side projects. I actually, programmed my own stuff, which nobody asked for. Actually, it wasn't that useful, that good. Nobody cared, but it was helpful. I did some non-for-profit work, which is always great. And last one, this is my secret key to success. I volunteered for first-level bug fixing. Actually, this was some, in my team, we had a couple of developers, we had a lot of bugs. I stayed after work, I stayed a couple of hours and I tried to at first find out where the bug happened. And once I got better, and then pointed out to the developers. And once I got better and better with code, I actually started just to fix the bugs myself. Your team lead will never complain that you volunteered for bug fixing. Nobody in your team will complain. And it was a great way to learn. And this is something I do almost with everything, because oftentimes you can't have experience in every field. It's just not possible. If you get experience today in omnichannel, then you don't get experience in Pardot. Or if you get experience in coding today, you don't get experience as an architect. You have to substitute experience somehow. And this is something I practiced a lot over a couple of years. And I always follow kind of the same project. I do Trailhead and certifications, but also look then into sources other than Trailhead certification, blogs, study groups, videos, community events, blah, blah, blah. I do side projects, which sometimes they are useful, sometimes they're not so useful, but I set up a community for a school. There is no school who asks for it, but make your own project. I do non-for-profit work. And lastly, I do expert interviews. The expert interviews are always my last step, but they are very helpful. Once I spent a couple of 100 hours in a certain topic, theoretically, I have to talk to people and get their real life experience. I think this is a way where you can substitute experience. You still don't have experience, but you get as close as you can get. So far, it all sounded like, I had a plan, I had a process, I was working part-time, chugging along. And looking back, it all looks really rosy. I think because I tend to forget the bad things. There were challenges. There were really, really dark times. The first one is lack of motivation. It's a long, long, long journey, and it's a very lonely journey. There's nobody around you who tells you, who helps you. Yes, people are helpful on community. They click like, they support you. This is great about our community, but at the end of the day, you have to get up, you have to go into front of Trailhead, and you have to do another trail. And nobody will compliment you for getting the 350s badge or the 12 certificate. Yes, you get 50 likes on LinkedIn. Great for you. It helps. But at the end, I visualize the goal always, again and again. And lack of promotions is the next one. I think, my personal opinion, it's easier to get promoted if you work hard in the short term. This way of study hard is actually not something you get usually promoted over, because you study so fast and so hard, and especially if you work part-time, that you are basically ahead of the promotion curve. I had 12 certificates and I still was a senior admin, which was fair enough, because why should I get promoted? But you know what I mean? Like, you don't get promoted that fast as you would expect. This comes to the second, it's a long-term investment. You invest a lot of time, a lot of effort. which doesn't pay off immediately. It pays off after years and years. I did the calculation, the ROI calculation on my plan, compared to just work hard. It has a payoff of 8 years. 8 years. This is something really long term. But after 8 years, it pays off greatly. I mean, the numbers look just amazing, but 8 years is a long time. And the last one, there's doubt. I mean, first the external doubt. And there will be doubters, always. Until the last week before I went for the board, there was doubters if I could do it. There will be people who will tell me, you will never be an architect, you don't have blah, 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 blah. This never will pay off, you're such a nerd, whatever. There will be doubters. And there was inner doubts. Can I do it? I mean, this inner doubt, it never stops. Again, I visualize the goal. And for the inner doubt, in our study group, we had a funny way of saying it is, we just aim for not being the worst architect in the world. We don't have to be the best one. Don't stress yourself. Just be the second worst. This was our goal. I hope we achieved that. I hope there is one architect who is I can beat. I don't know. Maybe I'm the worst one. At the end, the goal, this doubt will never go away. And I think this doubt is there until today. So my career in the meantime actually luckily progressed. So the company grew to 1,000 users. The Salesforce team also grew to 25 people. I was promoted to technical product owner. Hey, don't take me wrong. The team was always extremely supportive. I was super happy to have a great team lead, have a great surrounding. I think of really people who always want to learn. This was very, very important. And by that, I had a small Salesforce network, which comes in handy later, and 16 certifications at 350 traders. I was set up, I thought. There was one more thing I had to really learn was public speaking. Public speaking is something which you have to be good. Whatever you're gonna do in the future, unless you become a back-end lonely developer, you have to be good at public speaking. I wasn't that good, so I had to do it. And I did it the same way as I always did it. I told you the process, walk before you run. I started small. I started learning from others, like watching videos and doing classes. Then I did as many presentations as I just could. Just go for it. Submit to every dreaming event, to every user group, to every admin group. At some point, I did 2 to 3 presentations in my company per week. Just one presentation after another, just practice, 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 practice. And finally, actually, I was lucky enough and I became a Dreamforce speaker. But this was not by accident. This took me about 120 hours in total and 6 months of work to become a Dreamforce speaker. So as always, walk before you run, put in the practice, put in the work, and hopefully it pays off. And one more thing where you have to put in work is you have to break out of your bubble. This comes straight from Salesforce, literally. I talked to a few people at Salesforce and they agree. It's easy to stay in our cozy Salesforce field. And I also like it. You know, it's warm and we have cake. And we have Cody and we have Einstein. And it's all confetti here. But we have to leave our bubble sometimes. It's inconvenient to leave our bubble. There is a scary world out there. This is a scary world of microservices and DDD and Java and Happy Soup and Docker and whatever, and business cases and ROI calculations and so forth. I am lucky. I found a couple of IT allies, I call it, outside of Salesforce, people I talk to on a regular basis about the larger IT world. In Berlin, we have a huge startup scene, so it's easy to get in contact. But I also joined, just a couple of weeks ago, I went for the IT Architecture Summit. It was like 300 Java architects. Luckily, they have the same issues as we have. You know, they have a different technology stack slightly, but the issues are the same. I mean, software projects are software projects. I did business case writing. I took English classes. I still do that from time to time. And I watched so many random YouTube videos on so many different topics. So this helped me to break out of my bubble. So I got getting closer and closer. 2019, I was on track. I was nowhere near, also close, but I was on track. You see, it became mostly yellow, reddish now. I had to learn to think like a leader. This is something I got actually told by a good friend of mine. This was his advice on my way. So what I did, again, the same process, but this time I had a huge focus. So I was reading up on material, on theories. I was reading documents and blog posts, videos, watching videos, reading books. But this time I put in high effort on interviews. So I reached out to random CTOs I know from my past, but also from LinkedIn or people who work closely with CTOs and ask simple questions. What do I need to convince a CTO? What are common mistakes people like me make talking to a CTO? What does a CEO think like? What does a CEO care about? And these interviews helped me a lot to sharpen my skills. And then I also had to practice. So I got homework out of it. And again, I had to put in the work. It didn't happen by itself. Practice, practice, practice. But I think by now I am able to kind of pass, get along in a CTO meeting. And this made me ready for my final marathon. I got it all together. I quit my job. This was and I said, for the next 11 months, I do nothing but study for CTA. Full time. I think I'm the first one who did it this way. It was a great experience. It was an exhausting experience. I studied about 4 hours every day. 4 hours sounds little, but I found personally that 4 hours is my personal sweet spot. Everything about 4 hours is just, there's no return of investment anymore. If I study like 6-7 hours a day, my brain just shuts down. It doesn't work. So I did a lot of cooking, sport, naps. Oh God, I like naps. But I did way more than just study. Of course, yes, I studied about 1,450 hours. I did like 35 mock exams. I spent like $18,000, $20,000, depends on the conversion rate. I had 2 nervous breakdowns. Like literally, one was 2 weeks long. It was horrible. Like, I couldn't do anything anymore for 2 weeks. I just broke down completely. I got demotivated almost daily. Oh God, it was a horrible roller coaster of emotions. I studied something, I understood it, I felt amazing. I did a mock interview, I felt horrible. This all within one day, a couple of times. Luckily, my partner was always there for me. I had the support of my partner and of a lot of really supportive people out there. This was what kept me going. I had many different study groups which I joined. I had many people who supported me all the way. I can't name them. I was part of Flow Republic coaching, which also helped a lot. So I did it. I wasn't the motivated person on the left. I was more this guy. I felt so old, so tired. It was just unbearable. And even then, even after all this effort, I wasn't over-prepared. I still had a lot of areas where I was at best medium. Yes, I was really good with standard Salesforce knowledge by now. I know exactly how many criteria-based sharing rules you can have. I was okay with Salesforce architecture and data modeling. And my communication skills got way better. But everything else, I was at best medium. I had to give everything that was there. And then the big day came. I was lucky. Internet didn't break, my laptop didn't crash, I didn't have a breakdown. No big surprises, so to say. I mean, I did 35 mocks by that moment. I was lucky. No big surprises. Friendly judges, helpful judges, great support by Salesforce. 6.5 hours end to end. It was completely virtual. This is how I expect myself to look. My partner actually told me how I really looked, like this. It was the best day of my life. It was the cheat day of my life. All my desk was full of food, or only the most unhealthy food. And for 6.5 hours straight, I was eating all the time. It was so amazing. Oh, anyway, and I gained like 8 kilos, 5 kilos, something like that. Once I passed the review board, I'm still trying to get them off. But anyways, I got it done. 2 weeks later, I got the email. One Wednesday morning, I still remember the moment. I got up, I immediately checked my emails. Of course, I immediately checked my emails for all this time, every day. And you actually get the same email as you get for every other certification. It's exactly the same email, just a little bit more notes. You can't imagine how I was relieved. I felt amazing. And at the same time, I noticed something. This is just a milestone. A story ended, but another one started. But this time I was way better prepared because I had something. I learned on the key of success, collaboration. Up to that moment, I was studying mostly up to the CTA preparation. Final year, I was studying mostly alone. Many do that. You know, it's perfectly possible to pass 15 certifications without other people. But this CTA journey itself showed me collaboration is key. And I think all of you already do that. All of you are already great there. I can't name all the people. Just, I want to mention two of them here, Johannes and Alexandra, because they made this presentation possible. They have been, but there's so many people out there. I would have to thank you. And I think this is something I can carry over to the world in the future. To everything which comes scary, I learned how to collaborate, to get to success together. And with that, the next journey starts. But to wrap up the last one, many years ago, I started my journey. I started a long road through dark forests with big enemies, fiery enemies, to conquer a castle together, to lay siege at the castle, and then to finally breach the castle as a group, to get my prince, and as the final payoff, to become a certified technical architect. What can I tell you? Milestone achieved. I went from admin to architect. Thank you very much for being with me. There's no telling how much it means to me to tell this story to people like you. Thank you very much and have a good time. See you. Bye.
And with that, we're at the end. Where are you on your architect journey? What concepts are you struggling with? Comment below. We would also love to hear what video topics you want us to cover in future videos in the comments. If you've made it to this point, we want to take an opportunity to say thank you. Since you stayed with us, here's a bonus. Don't overplan. Get started studying today. Thank you for spending time with us. Please like and subscribe to our channel because we share weekly content to support your tech and Salesforce learning journey. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss a new video. We also handpick these videos which we recommend you watch next. Connect with us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and on 100daysoftrailhead.com, all of which are listed below. Thank you for learning with us, and we'll see you back tomorrow.